When designing or redesigning your garden, it's important to understand the sunshade patterns. Different parts of your yard will be in the sun or shade depending upon the time of year, and this will influence the type of plants you can grow. To begin with, from a plant's perspective, there are two types of shade. The first type of shade is overhead shade. This kind of shade you can find under a tree canopy or structure. You can easily tell this kind of shade by standing right where you want to grow your plant and looking directly up to the sky. If your view is unimpeded, you do not have to select plants that tolerate shade. If there is something overhanging, preventing you from seeing the sky clearly, then you will need to select plants that tolerate shade. Depending upon how much your view of the sky is blocked, this can be light shade or dense shade. The second type of shade is cast shade, shade cast by a structure, tree, or other form. This kind of shade varies throughout the year depending upon the angle of the sun in the sky. Here you can see Gary and Crystal's house faces north. The sun rises to the east and travels across the sky behind the house, casting a shadow in the front garden. This shadow will vary from season to season. At different times of the year, the shadow grows and shrinks. In December, we see a long shadow, and as the year progresses, the shadow gets smaller and smaller until the summer solstice, when it is smallest. What this means from a plant's point of view is that the plants within this cast shadow will have to tolerate some shade for part of the year. This can be an advantage as some plants prefer not to be exposed to the hot sun. It's also challenging when it comes to choosing plants that will be exposed to the sun in the summer, yet be shaded for much of the winter. Most of you will not have the benefit of computer graphics to figure out your sunshade patterns, but it can be easily done by going out in the garden at different times of the day to measure the extent of the shadow. You will see how it changes through the day, and you can either mark it out roughly on a sheet of paper or put a stake in the ground. For best results, you can repeat this exercise at different times of the year, at least once in winter and once in summer. If you have a high vantage point, you can take photographs of the shadow. When you are designing or redesigning your garden, and you know what the sunshade patterns are, you can use this information to create hydrozones, and use this as the foundation of your design.